Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first webinar of 2021. Uh, as usual, we have our good friend Eric Arnum here with us, and today we are going to be talking about the building material industry. A very interesting space considering, our roller coaster ride in 2020 and the kind of trend we are seeing in the entire infrastructure and building material industry. I think it's a very interesting trend. There are, a lot of numbers we're going to be talking about today, and also spending a little time on what digital transformation is really all about in this space, and what companies are looking to do, and where the focus is, trending towards. So, an interesting session. Welcome again, and thank you for being part of these next 30 minutes with us. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Roshan. Thank you very much. Uh, my name is Eric Arnum. I'm the editor of a publication called Warranty Week, which I hope you subscribe to. If you don't, please do sign up for it. It's free. It's a weekly. New issue came out last night. Contained a whole lot of data on product warranties in the United States, some of which I'm going to show you now. Let's look at my first slide if we could. Um, I'm going to be talking about four different segments of this industry. First of all, very basically, new homes. There at the bottom in the dark green. The builders of new homes spend a whole lot of money on warranties, and then one level up from them are uh, some of the, well, let me go from the top, I guess is best. Furniture. I'm tracking 35 companies that are making furniture and bedding and cabinets and things like that. One step down from them in the light blue are 29 companies that are manufacturing fixtures, both plumbing and electrical and other type of fixtures. And then the next notch down from them are the other building materials manufacturers. They're making everything: roofing, carpeting, windows, doors. And then finally, at the bottom there in dark green, that represents the warranty spending of 66 US based builders of new homes. So in total, we are tracking here on this chart 186 different companies based in the United States, their worldwide spending on product warranties. What we're looking at is the total for claims paid per quarter for the past 20 quarters. But the data goes all the way back to 2003. The reason I'm only showing you the last 5 years is because I want to show you something uh, rather curious. I think I found a new bathtub curve. Many warranty professionals, you've heard about bathtub curves as far as, claims emergence. But what I want to point out to you is that in 2020, in the 4 quarters of 2020, there's a bit of a bathtub, if you will. The pandemic lockdown bathtub curve is what we're going to call it. There's that dip in the second and third quarters of 2020. From the first quarter down to the second to the third, and then back up to the fourth. I haven't seen this before. Even back in the last recession, 2008, 2009. I didn't see this. There was a steady slope down. There was never any sort of U shape, and it was never this quick. So, rather curious. I don't quite know why, but my eyes don't deceive me. I can see it in front of me, and I wanted to point it out to you. So these are the quarterly measurements. I didn't want to clutter up this chart with numbers, so I left the numbers off of it. But what I want to tell you is that in 2020, the home builders spent $730 million on warranty claims. That was down around $54 million from 2019. The fixtures companies spent $383 million on warranty claims last year. That was down $25 million. The furniture manufacturers spent $147 million. That was down $21 million for the year. And the other building material manufacturers spent $383 million. That was down $25 million. But you see that most of that downturn was in the second and third quarters. And in fact, the home builders, they were down 18%. The fixtures companies were down 22%. The furniture companies were down 24%. And the other building manufacturing companies were down 15%. So what you see on balance is a very radical dip in the second and third quarters, but the first and fourth quarters were up enough to sort of make it a sort of small decline for the year as a whole. Let's go to the next slide. What we're looking at here are the expense rates of these companies. It's a simple formula. All you do is you take the spending, in this case claims, divided by sales, and you come up with a percentage. And what you see here is that it's fairly level. I wouldn't call this an upturn or a downturn. It's fairly level. The new homes stay pretty close to their long-term average, which is around 1.2%. The others, they stay close to their long-term averages as well, which is around 0.7%. If anything, the variation is seasonal. Since it's expenses divided by sales, that would make sense because there's more activity in the spring and the summer than there is in the fall and the winter. And so the two go up and down, and you see how they sort of go up and down as the years go on. A seasonal pattern, plain and simple. Next slide, please. What we're looking at here are the warranty accruals. These are the amounts of money that the manufacturers set aside when they sell their product, either a home or a door or roofing or whatever it happens to be. They put that money aside into the warranty reserve fund for future spending. So it's the opposite of claims. If you think of claims as sort of like the bills that are paid, these are the deposits into the checking account that finance those bill payings. So what I wanted to point out to you here is that you very definitely see this stair-step effect at the bottom there with the green columns for the new home builders. In the winter it's low, then it goes up a notch in the spring, goes up a notch in the fall, then it goes up yet another notch in the what did I forget a season? I forgot a season, I'm sorry. But then it goes back down again and starts over again. And it's sort of like a stair step. You can see clearly there are 5 stair steps in this 5-year chart. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing peculiar about this. That's the frightening thing, is that, with all the chaos of last year, you would think that there would be more chaos in these charts, but there's not. They're following very predictable patterns. For the whole year, new homes companies, they accrued $754 million. That was up around 9% from 2019 levels. And the amazing thing about that is that their sales were also up 9%. And in the next chart, I'll show you that in a second, but let me go on here. They were up 10% in terms of units sold. But I don't know. The others, with fixtures, for instance, their accruals fell, but their sales rose. Furniture, their sales fell a little bit, and their accruals fell 6%. The other building materials, sales fell a little, but accruals rose. So there was, just a lot of uncertainty. Let's go to the next slide. I'll show you the result of this. Um, Again, more or less a steady pattern, a seasonal pattern, but you can see the upturn at the end, particularly with the new home builders. That's concerning because that's the highest they've been in a long time, 1.5%, and we'll see what's happening. Let's go to the last slide if we could. Um, what we're looking at here is this metric is simply the balance in the warranty reserve funds of these 186 companies. You see, over the past 5 years, there's been a gentle rise, ever so slowly. They ended 2020, December 2020, with $2.72 billion in their warranty reserve funds. That was up 5.4% from the end of 2019, and it represents a record high for the past 18 years since these measurements began to be released in the annual reports of these companies. So that's concerning in respect to they have all this money in the warranty reserve. Do they really need it in the warranty reserve? Or are they putting more money aside than they really need to? And I think that's where the idea of better warranty management and more automation, more analytics, uh, better ability to predict the future and what the right level of future spending might be. And so let me stop there, and we'll hand it off to Roshan, who I hope will talk to you about some of these topics. Take it away, Roshan.
So before we get into the next topic, Eric, there's a question of whether the numbers include part and labor, right?
Yes.
They include parts and labor. So
Yes, and they are all net numbers. So that's very important in this industry because the home builders have contractors and suppliers, and sometimes they are able to push back their warranty expenses onto those contractors and suppliers. So that would be a net credit to them. And then those suppliers and contractors have subcontractors and sub suppliers. So, everybody's pushing their expenses back on one another. But these are the net numbers. They include everything that you would typically expect to be part of a warranty claim, parts and labor, as well as training costs and call center costs, whatever else there might be in the mix. Back to you, Roshan.
thank you, Eric. Okay, so moving on to this next slide, uh, we have been seeing a very interesting trend in this industry, right? We have a lot of customers who are a part of the overall cycle year, from construction material, building materials, construction equipment, to the HVAC side of it. And it's been a very, very interesting time in terms of conversations that are being had, right? So the pace at which transformation is moving has changed exponentially, right? So a lot of the conversations are around digitization. A lot of the conversations are about enabling faster pace from concept to actual productization of what we're talking about here. So we thought we'll walk through a few of the areas. What we're showing on this slide is a snapshot view of a study done actually in Europe. What Eric was talking about is what we see in the North American market. But looking at another view of a different part of the globe, it's very interesting to see where the focus is. If you take just the concept of warranty management systems, there is a large focus on having a digital warranty management system, and that means different things for different companies. But the concept of requiring this to move out of a lot of Excel based conversations, moving it out of what used to be a very manual process, has become far more real over the last year than it ever was before. And this is now also moving to the overall service life cycle concept, where essentially everything from initial placement of orders down to trying to bring in technology at a far faster pace when it comes to inspections, right? How do you use drone based technology to enable automation of inspections? How do you get a lot of that data to feed into systems like your warranty management system to start enabling decision making? And how does all of this integrate with a multitude of applications that are already in place? So if you look at this particular slide, and where your moderate degree of influence matches your mature degree of implementation, you see a digital warranty management system, you see CRM systems, and you see a lot on the analytics side. And this is very close to what we, at least as Tavant, are seeing with a lot of our customers and the conversations we are having with them, right? How do you ensure that analytics is no longer about reporting, but analytics is about decision making and driving those insights, rather than just a report that is being sent out on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, right? How do you ensure that a lot of the data coming in from a multitude of partners can be brought into one ecosystem to enable more value across the overall ecosystem? And that's where a lot of the focus is. And some of the trends we are seeing here are essentially a focus on trying to convert the pace at which these conversations have been happening. So a lot of it is moving towards a go live kind of approach through the course of this year, with a lot of the conversations having started last year. Another interesting a piece of information here is primarily in and around the whole digital content marketing piece and the storytelling side of this, right? So especially the building materials space has always been about the end customer, but a lot of it comes down to a very distributed kind of service network, making it very challenging to have this consolidated one story kind of approach to what a company really brings to the table, whether it is the retailer network or it is the end customer. So the necessity to focus on overall content marketing and creating a completely different brand identity is another thing that we are seeing in the industry that is gaining far more traction. And the last thing we would like to point out here is the overall commerce piece of what is happening. So B2B commerce, especially, and the ability to convert this into true digital B2B commerce, and moving away from what in many cases today is still driven by Excel, even pen and paper, a lot of manual kind of commerce activity, is transitioning to a true e-commerce kind of mode. And it is either building it a custom in some cases, in most cases leveraging multiple platforms that are out there, but there's an extremely heightened sense of confidence and necessity on the commerce side of the house here. Okay. That will move to the next slide. So we wanted to just quickly outline what we are trying to also do and focus on in this space. So we've always been a market leader in the warranty side of the house. We are now in the process of transforming that experience to also move into the entire after sales side of the overall ecosystem. So just some of the things to call out here, just the ability to look into what inspection and the entire set of activities around that is a big part of our focus. How do you ensure that you make it far more simple and easier for the initial inspection activity when it comes to, the construction and building material side of the equation here. In addition to that, uh, the service lifecycle piece in the building material space, if we keep construction equipment and the equipment companies outside of this, is a very different kind of ecosystem and workflow. And so we are seeing far more interest in bringing in that whole estimation request, bid submission process. And so we are enabling this has a distinct and clear value add and differentiator from a Tavant perspective. And finally, the analytics piece is a very large part of what Tavant is doing today, both within the aftermarket space and outside of this. Right, so we have a separate AI ML practice that essentially brings a combination of what we're doing across multiple industries, and then enables large big data kind of design and initiatives, and then enabling more learning and real time machine learning into the data that we are now having access to. So it's definitely a very interesting time for us as a company, where the challenge a lot of our customers are throwing our way is to move away from thinking of warranty and the service space as a transaction based approach that adds value, to more a data based approach where data first is going to be our focus and our differentiator. So as an example, we've hired far more data scientists over the last 1 year than ever before, right? So the data scientists within Tavant really lead a lot of what we are trying to do in the space. We bring in a far more focus into the overall, analytics piece. And when we talk about machine learning, it essentially comes down to the system understanding the data and coming up with trends without someone having to manually look into what's really going on there with everything you see in your process flow. So very interesting times for sure. And we look forward to 2021 with more innovation and more conversations around, how we can enable that value. Any thoughts, Eric, from your perspective?
I gotta unmute myself. um, yeah, data is king. Um, the external data that I presented, is coming from the annual reports of these companies. But the internal data that these manufacturers and builders have, it's a wealth of information, and it's just beginning to be exploited and put to work. But basically, you can use um, warranty data from the past to inform your strategy for the future. You can use the records of past failures to predict future failures, and actually maybe even prevent them from ever happening. That's very exciting, and although it's very advanced in the automotive industry, I think it's just beginning in the building trades industry.
Absolutely, Eric. And talking about data, I think we have one recommendation which I think makes a lot of sense. Uh, to break down these numbers by residential and commercial, and the trends we see in terms of the impact may be very different, right? And we definitely see that with our customers too. So if you talk to folks who are on the residential side of the house with the whole housing boom, the trend would probably be very different compared to maybe office furniture, and how that has been impacted through last year. So very pertinent comment.
Yes, very definitely. And I wish I could break out this data by residential versus commercial, and I wish I could break it out by product line. But all these companies do is each company, each of the 186 companies I'm tracking, just release one set of numbers for all of their warranty spending for all of their products in all of their markets. So we're stuck with that as external observers, but internally, wow, there's a lot of value out there.
Okay, I think that's all we had for today. Again, we wanted to thank you for your time.
Oh,
We
wait, we have, Roshan, we have a question here. What is Tavant's competitive advantage in this landscape?
So I think Tavant has always focused on trying to, continuously innovate here, right? So our focus, that's why at this point is on data, right? So that is our driver. And we are working closely with our customers to see how that brings in uh, a lot more, not just from doing something that has always been done, but to essentially, like I said before, convert data into true decision enablers. So that is going to be our challenge, and something that we are working across multiple industries, right? So whether it's building materials or on the construction equipment side, a lot of what we're doing with our customers is now centered in and around data. We launched a product called TMAP last year, which essentially is the analytics platform. It is driven with the idea that, streaming data, getting data from multiple sources, accelerating the ability to consolidate all of that data in a single place, all of that is going to be made far more easy through what we already have in place for customers that already have something in terms of an infrastructure. We just complement what they're doing, but the real value add beyond that is a lot of the machine learning research that is going to be driving things like early warning. And how do we enable early warning by looking at the overall piece of information that is available from multiple units out there, or looking at sales forecasting and demand forecasting through the kind of data that we have available coming in from multiple sources, not just warranty, right? How do you look at warranty reserves, not just as something that you're trying to plan and optimize on, but how do you take warranty reserves back to your financial team and start looking at changing what is being done when it comes to planning from a finance standpoint. So all of this is part of our focus and approach to most of the customers we're speaking to.
Roshan, another question came in while you were speaking. Anything regarding data gathering would need a big overhaul with maintenance and operation folks. As a commercial function, are there easy wins before that stage?
That's a loaded question. And I don't think there is a simple answer to this. If this was a question maybe a year ago, I think the pace at which some of this was being done would have been very different. But right now, we are seeing a higher sense of urgency to make this happen, right? Because if that overhaul doesn't take place and the pain is not something a company goes through, we definitely believe you lose a distinct competitive advantage right now. And over the next year or so, it will even stop being just a competitive advantage. It will be basic hygiene, right? So companies that move faster in that direction are going to, definitely see better results. There are always banded approaches that would work to get more insight. And we've tried to take what we would call in the software industry as an agile approach, where you're not trying to boil the ocean and get this large scale, data engineering project done. There are quick wins that are possible, but I think the devil is in the details, right? To see how those quick wins can enable faster decision making, rather than looking at those quick wins as a technology decision. The change now is to look at that decision making from a business impact standpoint. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you soon in one more of these sessions. Thanks, Eric, and have a nice weekend.